Let's start with that, yeah. And then talk about the plan.
I like the merch. Nice. Shameless.
Shameless. Always
You got more gray hair than me. It finally happened.
A lot.
Yeah, look at that. All right. It says it's taken a while to connect. Hey, everyone. You're joining us in mid-conversation as Mehdi and I are comparing gray hairs. And when I first met him 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago, actually 13 years ago,
Yeah,
he didn't.
2012.
I had more gray hairs than him. But this is what happens when you're running your own company, Zeteo. Go subscribe to Mehdi Hasan and his company, Zeteo, which is extremely successful, hiring fantastic journalists, doing great work. Mehdi is exhausted, but he made 20 minutes for me, which I appreciate. And we're going to talk about how Donald Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize. And right before we got on, we were asking each other, has anyone shamelessly lobbied for a Nobel Peace Prize before? And we couldn't come up with an answer. Mehdi, Republicans say that Donald Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for prize for bringing peace to the Middle East. Your response?
So before we get into, and hello everyone, good to see you all. Thanks, Waj. Before we get into whether he deserves a prize for peace and whether this plan is a peace plan, let's just talk about the fact that we've never seen anyone publicly lobby for a Nobel Peace Prize for themselves. Normally, you got someone who say, Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mrs. X, Mrs. Y, we hear that you're in line for the Nobel Peace Prize. They said, no, not for me. Give it to the people on the ground. You know, that's what you normally... This guy is going around saying, I deserve it. I want one. I need one. He is a toddler. I often call him a man-child, but in this case, he's a literal child. He's saying, I want, give it to me. And he's got his proxies going out and saying the same. Both his fail sons, Don Jr. and Eric, have been on social media saying our father deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. Brian Mast, chair of the House Foreign Relations Committee, Republican congressman, went on Fox last night and said, give him a peace prize. Laura Ingraham has said, shut down the Nobel Prize Committee if he doesn't get one. Couple of things. Number one, they've already decided. So he may not get it because they already, just from a technicality in that they left it very late to do this deal, they apparently shut their whole discussion down on Monday. Apparently they decided on the person weeks ago. So even if he deserved it, and I don't think he does, and I'll come to that, he may have just missed the application process. And number two, this idea that if he doesn't get one, they're going to go after Norway. The irony, Waj, I don't know if you've seen the Guardian's reporting, which people in Norway are worried that if he doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, he's going to tariff them, threaten them, make them pay more to NATO. I mean, give me a prize or I'll attack you. Give me a peace prize or I'll attack you. It's so ironic on so many levels.
There's going to be trade war if you don't give him the peace prize. There's going to be trade war.
There's going to be a trade war or real war. Let's talk about the substance of it. Does he deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for what was agreed this week? What was agreed this week, if it ends the genocide, if it gets us a permanent ceasefire, is a good thing for that reason. But what it is not is a peace plan. In no shape or form is it a peace plan. It has no strategy, no plan, no proposal, no program, no timeline for Palestinian freedom, for an end to occupation, for self-determination of the Palestinian people, for a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza even. In fact, I just saw a map online today that shows once the Israelis withdraw to the first line, which is the phase one, they'll still be in control of 58% of Gaza, a majority of Gaza. Israeli analysts on Israeli TV are bragging about how Netanyahu's won a great victory. Smotrich, the finance minister, who always says the quiet part loud, he tweeted today that, you know what, this is not a peace deal. This is a hostages ceasefire, and then we'll go back to eradicating Hamas, which has always been my fear. There is nothing in this 20-point plan that prevents Israel on Monday morning from saying, hey, we got the hostages back, now we're going to bomb Hamas again. Nothing. And Trump was asked today, what will you do? Is there any way of stopping Israel if they decide to go back to war, go back to genocide? He said, we'll see, which is answer for no, there's nothing he can or will do to stop Israel. So my biggest worry with this plan, not just that it's not a peace plan and we're lying about calling it a peace plan, it's a ceasefire proposal, but my biggest worry is they get the hostages back, Israel, Donald Trump gets his Nobel Prize or whatever he gets, his fanfare. Everyone moves on, and then Israel starts bombing Gaza again. We're back to the October 6th status quo, which in itself was untenable. An endless occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. No freedom for the Palestinians. Apartheid. That is not sustainable, and this plan does nothing to end that.
And I know there's a lot of moving parts here, but breaking news that Letitia James has just been indicted. A grand
jury. Did they get it? They got the grand jury now?
Yeah. And folks... As a As a recovering attorney, exactly. As a recovering attorney who hasn't practiced in 10 years, I could tell you the famous saying that Mehdi just said is you can indict a ham sandwich. This is the overreach, and this is after the indictment of James Comey. He's literally going down the list, Mehdi.
The
And
list
because
that Kash Patel said didn't exist. The list is they're going down the list, and the indictment. I mean, interestingly, funny line about indicting a ham sandwich. Just on a side note, you remember the guy who threw a sandwich at
yeah,
federal agents in D.C. Jeanine Pirro tried to indict him, and she couldn't indict him for that sandwich. Pirro actually keeps getting thrown out. She's so bad at what she does as the attorney in D.C., the former Fox host. But Letitia James, look, Lindsay Halligan is the former Miss Colorado contestant and private insurance lawyer who Donald Trump made his criminal defense lawyer and then made attorney for Eastern District of Virginia, specifically tasked with going after his enemies. Her predecessors, both of them said no. One of them is a hardcore Republican, said we cannot bring charges against Comey. The case is not strong enough. Trump got rid of them, brought in Halligan. Now, Tish James, the Attorney General of New York, who Trump hates because she successfully brought his company and organization to trial, successfully got him done for fraud, financial fraud for his companies, and of course is a black woman, icing on the cake for Trump. So of course she was going to be next. And of course this Halligan woman, this appointee who turned up at the White House, by the way, the other day, Waj. She turned up at the
no,
White
of course,
House. Remember when
of course.
people lost their minds that Bill Clinton had a chat on the tarmac with Barack
I
Obama,
remember.
the
I'm
Attorney
old enough.
General? People lost their minds. Loretta Lynch, what was it, 20-minute chat about a completely inconsequential topic? That was the end of the world. Now you have U.S. attorneys turning up at the White House to get their marching orders from the president during active investigations. I hope the Tish James trial falls apart in the same way that Comey's trial seems to be falling apart already.
It is going to fall apart, but nonetheless, it's a rogue
Harassment.
administration that is
Yeah,
weak.
it has an impact. It chills dissent. It spreads fear. It harasses you. It costs a lot of money to defend yourself in court. It ruins people's lives. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. And furthermore, folks, because Donald Trump is the most helpful Bond supervillain who's so reckless that he accidentally butt posted a message he was supposed to send to Pam Bondi, literally
Yeah,
giving you the hit list. James Comey was on it. Letitia James was on it. Adam Schiff is on it. He also telegraphed his plan to go after Jimmy Kimmel. Oh, I don't know, 7 weeks ago, went
yeah,
after Jimmy Kimmel. This is why I think he's a weak cornered rat. He sees the poll numbers are down. He sees the fact that people have not forgotten about the Epstein files. He now has Marjorie Taylor Greene today. I think I sent you
yeah.
that tweet openly blaming House Speaker Johnson and her own party for the shutdown, and they're breaking ranks on two big issues, Mehdi, in keeping the through line. They're breaking issues on Epstein and Israel. Now, I'm sure you saw that Harry Enton on CNN did that poll that says for the first time ever, a majority of Americans are pro-Palestinian. There was like a 49-point shift from 2023 to
Yeah,
now because people have been radicalized in real time by what you and I, and
yeah.
now also Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, international scholars on genocide have called Israel's genocide. This is now no longer one of those issues that I think they could just punt away. And also, Democrats can't punt this away. Talk to us about how this has become a litmus test for the Democrats moving forward.
Well, 100%. First of all, 100% on Trump's distraction strategy. He knows Epstein's bad for him. He knows a 10% increase in electricity prices is bad for him. He knows a stalling economy and slowing job growth is bad for him. This is the guy who said he would solve high prices on day one. He has not. He said he would end the Ukraine war on day one. He has not. He said he would release the Epstein files. He has not. So this is great to create Antifa as the boogeyman, hold press conferences with right-wing influencers, send the Texas National Guard into Illinois. And by the way, I don't want to give props or respect to Republican governors, all of whom are awful. But Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma did say
Today,
very honestly today that if Illinois sent National Guard into Oklahoma on Joe Biden say so, we would all be mad. Republicans would. And that's true. They are
Christy
hypocrites.
Nome said it last year. Remember when during the Biden administration, what she went
Yeah,
on
but she didn't say it now. She said it
Yeah,
last year. At least Kevin Stitt has the small balls to say it now. But look, he's definitely distracting us from Epstein. You saw the CBS reporting that came out about the disastrous investigation into
yep.
Epstein's alleged suicide in his prison cell. And I say alleged suicide because for years I was anti-conspiracy theories. But at this point, come on. It's so shady. They didn't even interview the two guards for 2 years. They didn't secure the scene. There was paper over the windows of the inmates opposite who still managed to see stuff. By the way, who was president when Epstein died in prison? Was it
Obama?
Joe Biden? Was it Barack Obama?
No, Donald Trump.
It was Donald Trump. Bill Barr was the AG. So that's another interesting one to keep pulling at. So look, this is a lot of distraction in what's happening in Chicago. Obviously, they have their fascist impulses. Stephen Miller is a fascist. But the timing of this, I do think, is cynical and opportunistic and distraction. In terms of what's happening in Gaza and the Democrats, look, Donald Trump is now going to try and take credit for ending this horrific genocide. Let's see if it actually ends. Inshallah, right now they're still bombing Gaza even as we speak. Donald Trump extended the genocide in Gaza. He oversaw the deaths of 20,000 people this year. He could have ended it. At any point, he dragged it out till now. But this is the bad news for the Democrats. We all know that Joe Biden could have ended it also at any point.
Absolutely.
And chose not to. In fact, Gershon Baskin, an Israeli back-channel negotiator, published a piece today saying the deal that Trump got Netanyahu and Hamas to sign was on the table in September of 2024. Biden wasn't interested, and Brett McGurk, his awful point man on the Middle East, shot it down. So Biden could have got this deal in September 2024. Think about that. 30,000 people would be alive today who are dead. And Donald Trump would have lost the election, probably. They probably would have held on to Michigan and Pennsylvania. It would have given Kamala Harris actually some breathing space if in September of 2024 we had a peace deal or a ceasefire in Gaza. Imagine how much easier that would have made Harris's life running against Trump. So they could have avoided the extension of a genocide and prevented Donald Trump from winning the election if he'd just freaking got that deal done that Trump got done now. Democrats in 2028 running for president are going to be asked about this. I don't believe that Gaza is going away. I know a lot of smart pundit types, Matt Iglesias, centrist, savvy folks, they're telling us that, Gaza's not going to be the issue that you think it is. I don't think the Democratic base is just going to forget what has happened. And I think Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer and Josh Shapiro and all of these people, J.B. Pritzker and all the people around, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, obviously, Ro Khanna, all the names you hear, they're going to be asked about their stance on Gaza. They're going to be asked what they would have done and what they would do differently as president. They're going to be asked about arms embargoes, which a vast majority of Democratic voters now say they support. Those questions are not going away, Vaj.
This is the Gaza generation, and it's been a generation that has been radicalized and real witnessing genocide streamed on their phones. And now,
yes, folks, and as Natasha K says in the chat, they'll also be asked why they're accepting AIPAC money. I agree.
And folks, Mehdi and I were on this for 2 years. Mehdi paid the price, lost his job, started Zeteo. I lost some opportunities. It's nothing first world problems. But we kept telling Democrats, you cannot ignore the base. You cannot ignore the genocide. And we were told, shut up, shut up, shut up. You lefties. And we said, look at the YouGov poll after Kamala Harris lost.
Harris now says it, Waj, in her memoir. She says, I've seen the polls that show for swing voters it was the top issue. Well, we tried to tell you.
We tried to tell you, and it's happening in real time. I want to connect the dots to the power that corporate donors and AIPAC still have, and also ideology, because for Biden and Schumer, I think it's also ideology. In real time, right now, we have Zoran Mamdani, a man who looks like you and me, brown man, Muslim, bearded, son of immigrants, who will, inshallah, be the next mayor of New York City. You see Jews Yeah, so you see Jews going for Mamdani because of his stance on Gaza, not in spite of it. And still, right now, the leaders
have not endorsed him. Neither of them have endorsed him.
What does that tell you, Mehdi?
It tells us multiple things. It tells us, as the New York Times said, Chuck Schumer is more interested in appeasing his donors than appeasing the Democratic base. It tells us that Hakeem Jeffries is indeed AIPAC Shakur, to quote Charlemagne on the House Minority Leader. It tells us that these two leaders are not the leaders Democrats need in this fight to save democracy, to prevent fascism, and to win elections. Mamdani is everything the Democrats said they wanted. Someone who is young, dynamic, could win over young men. That's what we were told. Could get people to turn out. Was a great speaker, could go anywhere and talk to anyone. That's who they have. And yet they will not endorse him. Governor Hochul belatedly has endorsed him, but Gillibrand is not, the New York senator. Schumer is not, the other New York senator. And Jeffries is not, the New York congressman who happens to run the House Democratic caucus. It's shameful. They're out of touch. They know that Mamdani threatens everything they stand for, not just their foreign policies, but their domestic pro-corporate policies. Look, Zoran Mamdani has been treated shamefully, both by his own party and, of course, by the right. He is everything they thought Obama was, but wasn't, right? They said Obama was an African, foreign-born Muslim socialist. Mamdani is literally an African, foreign-born Muslim socialist. So they hate him. They are smearing him. I interviewed him recently. He travels now with the NYPD security detail. There's a lot of threats on his life and his family's life, incited, whipped up by people like Randy Fine in Congress and by the late Charlie Kirk, who said some outrageous things about Zoran Zoran Mamdani before he himself was brutally, horribly assassinated. We hope there's no more political assassinations in this country. But the fact that the Democratic leadership can't get behind their own mayoral candidate is truly, truly shameful. And the media treatment has been horrific too. I don't know, Waj, you saw the story today out of the New Yorker, the profile of Mamdani, where they reveal that when he went on Stephen Colbert's show, and Stephen Colbert is a hero for liberal resistance in this country, and yet Colbert was lobbied heavily by pro-Israel activists to grill Mamdani on Israel, grill him on anti-Semitism. And at one point, apparently, the CBS Colbert Show had proposed to Mamdani's team doing a quiz, a game on the night where they would say Hamas, yay or nay, thumbs up, thumbs down. They were going to make a genocide and a huge geopolitical problem for America and the world into a little fun game to laugh at. And of course, we saw an audience on HBO laughing about the Gaza genocide with Van Jones and Bill Maher just last week. So look, Republicans, right-wingers, we know they're racist, we know they're Islamophobes, we know they're pro-Israel, pro-Likud, but there are a lot of liberals and centrists who also have to hang their heads in shame on this issue.
And also, what we've seen in real time is the corporatization of media and the Israelification of media. Yes, I'm using those words, and the Israelization of our streets. What's happening in the West Bank? You've gone, I've gone before. Folks, we had Jen Bunn, who is a whistleblower, former border security officer, who says, yeah, we got trained by Israel. Yeah, Israel security is here. Yeah, we get sent there and we learn how they occupy. And those are the same tactics that you're now seeing in Portland, in Chicago. And furthermore, what Mehdi just mentioned was revealed in the New Yorker today. That was Stephen Colbert's show before Barry Weiss. That was before the merger. Yes. And now talk to us about the fact that Larry Ellison's Nepo baby, David Ellison, after the merger, runs Paramount. He just gave $150 million to Barry Weiss, 41 years old, who made her chops by going after pro-Palestinian activists to literally head CBS News. His father, Larry Ellison, on and off again, the richest man on earth, just bought TikTok. Now he's making a bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, which, by the way, folks, also owns CNN and HBO. And I've said the two litmus tests for Democrats is not just Israel-Palestine. It's going to be Israel, folks. I agree with Mehdi. They cannot hide from Gaza or AIPAC. The other litmus test is the oligarchy. And you see them both combined right now with the takeover of CBS and TikTok, literally to suppress speech against Israel. Mehdi.
It's a horrific scenario we're facing right now. They know that they've lost public opinion on Israel. As you pointed out earlier, the polls show that Americans, for the first time, support Palestinians more than Israelis. And so their answer is to double down on media control the information flow, control what you see, control what you hear, limit debate, limit free speech, suppress pro-Palestinian protesters and voices, crack down on dissent. And they're doing that, as you say. Larry Ellison is the biggest single private donor to Friends of the IDF, a pro-Israel charity that raises money for the Israeli military. He's the biggest single donor in the world. He was, as you say, the richest man in the world for a couple of days earlier this year. His son, David Ellison, now owns Paramount and is going after CNN. And with Rupert Murdoch, that other pro-Israel billionaire, media magnate, the Ellisons and the Murdochs are buying TikTok with Trump's blessing. So we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to control the information flow, not just on Israel, but on domestic politics, on what's happening in Portland and in Chicago. This is very, very worrying because the First Amendment is all we have as the last obstacle to full-blown fascism in this country. And these hypocrites, Waj, they spent 10 years boring the shit out of us by going on and on about free speech, cancel culture, use snowflakes on campus. We are the party of freedom. And as soon as they come into office, they are the most repressive anti-speech administration in modern American history. We've never seen anything like it. You saw a Reagan judge just put out a 160-page document last week or last month saying what they did to Mahmoud Khalil, what they did to Rumeysa Ozturk was chilling for free speech. He said people in masks, it's never been seen before in American history. ICE agents shouldn't be in masks. Only the KKK are in masks. So these people are anti-free speech. They're anti-public protest. They're anti any kind of dissent. And yes, the oligarchy is at the heart of that. You have Larry Ellison talking about a surveillance state. We have Peter Thiel and Palantir probably reading all our emails right now. So it is a very, very worrying moment where the kind of tech bro fascism is upon us, and we don't have a Democratic Party leadership that's willing to stand up and fight back. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries reportedly went to Silicon Valley earlier this year to say, hey guys, I'm still friends with you. Don't listen to Zoran Mamdani and AOC and Bernie. I'm still on board. That is not the attitude we need right now. If Democrats ever take power back again, and that's a big if, in the House, in the White House, they must break up big tech. They must fix some of these glaring inadequacies in our political and economic system. Remember, when Trump said the system was rigged, people agreed with him because it's true, it is rigged. Of course, he's rigging it further in favor of himself and his billionaire friends. The next Democratic government, if we get one, has to unrig this system.
Absolutely. They have to run on accountability. And I've said that anyone who runs on restoration, that's not the fighter. We need reformation. And right now, that Democratic leadership, I've said this before on your show, I'll say it again, they are not made for this moment. They are not built for this fight. But thankfully, we, the people, are. And you see the people coming out protesting in the streets. You see the people protesting with their dollars. You see the people being informed. If they go after TikTok, which they already have, they're going to create something else. There's too many of us, and you see a desperate, weakened Trump administration that is completely underwater on the economy, on inflation, on tariffs, on immigration now, Mehdi, and also on the Epstein files. And Eric Swalwell, 2 days ago, actually, excuse me, yesterday, tweeted out that Republican colleagues say that once these Epstein files come out, and they eventually will, it's going to they cannot escape this. They
Yeah,
fear that this is
I'm
going to
not
bring it
sure I
down.
agree with that, Waj, but we'll see.
Yeah, because who knows? With this, they're
They've
perfectly
already
fine with the
created a pre-narrative that the files were tampered with by Biden. They've got their ready-made excuse.
I still think, though, this is the thing that will weaken it. I think the Achilles
I hope
cankle for
so.
Donald
I hope
Trump
I'm
is
wrong.
Epstein files. Mehdi, you had 20 minutes. I kept you for 20. Shamelessly promote yourself before you leave.
Zeteo.com, Zeteo.com. Join our independent media platform. We have 500,000 followers on Substack. We have 1.3 million subscribers on YouTube. We're challenging corporate media. We're breaking stories. We're publishing documentaries. We're running podcasts. We have contributors like Naomi Klein and Greta Thunberg and John Harwood and yourself. We have some great people, great shows. Please come support independent journalism at a time when the media are under assault.
1,600 people watching. This will be up later on the Left Hook and Zeteo. No paywalls for me. Everything's free. Yes, we talked about Letitia James' indictment. It happened in real time as we were talking. Overreach. It's a chilling effect. He's going after the list that he literally butt posted that he wanted to send Pam Bondi. So I'm assuming Adam Schiff is next. He's gone after
Yes.
Comey. He's gone after Letitia James. I think Adam Schiff was next on the list.
It's a long list. There'll be a lot,
It,
and we're only 9 months in, Waj. He's got a
it,
lot of time to go after everyone.
Yeah, well, apparently he doesn't do the work. Stephen Miller does all the work, and he just golfs and sleeps during his meetings. But folks, we have the numbers. We have the numbers. Stay informed. Follow and support truth tellers. Follow and support Mehdi and Zeteo. Be kind to each other. Be joyful warriors. And please, oh please, don't be a fascist. Thanks, Mehdi.
Thanks, everyone.